Hi, I'm Rita. I come from a very wealthy family. My parents always spoiled me. One day, they told me some great news at the end of the summer holidays. We have friends in Bali, remember? Well, you'll be staying with them next week. We've already bought the tickets.
Woo-hoo!
Hooray! I was going to Bali. Can Andy come too? Andy was my boyfriend. I really wanted to go on a trip with him. At first, my parents hesitated, but I managed to convince them. That evening, I met with my best friend Courtney and told her the news. Awesome, right? Andy and I haven't traveled together yet. Courtney smiled sadly. Congratulations! I haven't traveled at all. I felt awkward. Courtney's family got by, but they were always short of money. I looked at my friend and suddenly got an idea. Why don't you come with us? Are you kidding? I don't even have enough money for the tickets. I have some personal savings, so I'll pay for you. I don't know, that's kinda awkward. Come on, let's have some fun. Courtney agreed, and a couple of days later the three of us boarded a plane. Upon arrival, we were met by my mother's friend. Call me Jeedy. Her house turned out to be stunning and cozy. Courtney and I shared a room, while Andy stayed in the room of Jeedy's daughter. She was away at the time. We packed up and went to the beach. I'd always felt insecure because of my skinny figure and wore one-piece swimsuits. Compared to me, Courtney was a real beauty. I admired and even envied her a little. It was little wonder all the guys on the beach kept staring at her. Well, what mattered was that Andy loved me as I was. The next morning began with trouble. My skin hurt terribly. I looked in the mirror and was horrified. I was red as a lobster. Wow, Rita, what a tan. We were planning to go on a boat trip, damn it. You should avoid the sun and stay at home today. Then I'm staying too. We'll stay with Rita. Nonsense, I don't want you to miss anything because of me. They hesitated, but eventually agreed. I spent the day suffering at home. Jeedy gave me some local lotions for my skin. Andy and Courtney came back in the evening. They looked so happy. At dinner, they kept chatting about the boat trip. It was so cool. Right, Courtney? Of course, those views and swimming in the open sea. I felt like a third wheel and was beginning to regret letting them go without me. The next day, we went to the beach again. While I was sitting under the umbrella, Andy and Courtney were having fun. My friend liked extreme sports. She skated professionally and even took part in competitions. So she quickly got the hang of surfing as well. Andy liked outdoor activities too. Wow, you're so good at it. I was so frustrated. I regretted inviting Courtney on the trip. As we walked home, the mood sucked. Has something happened? It's fine. You seem upset. I told you, it's fine. Andy and Courtney looked at each other in bewilderment. Tickets, tickets! On the way home, we met a lottery ticket seller. Andy immediately approached him. He had a weakness for that sort of thing. That time was no different. You always spend money on all the sorts of nonsense and never buy me anything. Well, I'm sorry that my parents are not as rich as yours. Andy got offended. For some reason, Courtney sided with him. Rita, you shouldn't have said that. I knew I was in the wrong, so I bought a tour for us all to make up for it. In the evening, I went to an Indonesian restaurant with Jeedy and her husband. All the dishes were very spicy and exotic. I barely ate anything. Courtney, however, tried all the most unusual dishes. She paid for it later that night. Seems you have poisoning. By morning, Andy was ill as well. We'll have to stay home. Go on the tour without us. That was a pity. The tour turned out to be interesting, but I kept wondering how Andy and Courtney were doing. When I came back, they were not at home. They went to the beach. What? Were they having fun while I was worrying about them? I went to the beach as well. Those two were laughing and having a great time. Having fun? I thought you were sick. We were, but we got better in the evening and decided to come here. What's wrong with that? I knew he was right, but I couldn't help myself. I was jealous. Some guy suddenly came up to us. I've seen you surf. You're so good at it. A contest for couples is taking place on the beach tomorrow. Do you want to participate? Hell yeah, that would be awesome. So they were going to have fun together again. And I was the third wheel. I lost it. Andy, you're not going to participate. Rita, why are you saying that? Why shouldn't Andy participate if he wants to? I paid for your tickets here, so keep quiet. Courtney froze up. I realized that I'd gone too far, but it was too late. She turned around and ran away. Andy gave me a withering look and hurried after her. I felt terrible the entire night. In the morning, I went to the beach anyway. Andy and Courtney looked great together, so beautiful and athletic. They won, and I congratulated them. Things got better right away. In the evening, I had an idea. Andy and I hadn't gone on a single date during that trip. I wanted to change that. I came to a beautiful cafe, booked a table, and asked the waiter to create a romantic atmosphere. It was supposed to be great, but Andy looked sad and thoughtful and kept avoiding my eyes the whole evening. What's wrong with you? I don't want to lie, so I'll tell you how it is. I don't feel anything for you anymore. I like Courtney. I even pretended to be sick to spend time with her. What I'm saying is, I want to break up. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I just froze and stared at him in silence. I thought he was going to laugh and say he was joking, but that didn't happen. How could you? Tears of anger filled my eyes. I jumped up from my seat and ran out into the street. Andy followed me. Rita, wait, leave me alone. I came home, saw Courtney, and let my anger out. Both of you are traitors. I've done so much for you. You're not my friend anymore. I didn't mean to, I swear. There's nothing between us. Nothing? You stole my boyfriend. I didn't want to listen to any more pathetic excuses and locked myself in our room. Let her sleep in the living room. In the morning, I was woken up by loud voices. I didn't want to see anyone, but I went downstairs anyway. A girl I didn't recognize was sitting at the table. Rita, this is my daughter Vera. Vera turned out to be very chatty and friendly. She traveled a lot and had a lot of interesting stories to tell. I even forgot about my problems for a while. Vera moved into her room. Andy still lived there. He just moved to a mattress. We next met at dinner. Vera showed us photos from our last trip. This is Mount Agung? I climbed it a couple of days ago. It is considered a place of power. They say if you make a wish there, it will come true. The view at dawn is amazing there. Wow, I wish I could climb it too. That's not a problem. You just need to pay the instructor. Courtney immediately got upset and looked at me guiltily. She probably remembered who had paid for our trip. I smirked. However, to be honest, the view from the mountain impressed me as well. I would have maybe even risked climbing it, but the next day we went back home. I was in a terrible mood. At school, I tried to avoid my former friend and ex-boyfriend. We used to have fun, but now I hung with another company. I often saw them spending a lot of time together. One day I noticed them in the school parking lot. They were chatting sweetly and seemed happy. Then, I saw them in a park. Courtney and Andy were holding hands and suddenly kissed. Courtney, that snake. Soon they stopped hiding, and the whole school found out that Andy had left me for Courtney. No wonder Andy dumped her. She has nothing but money. Courtney is much better. The giggles behind my back were terribly infuriating. Courtney and Andy were the ones to blame for it all. One day, Courtney showed up at my house. Hi, can I come in? I folded my arms across my chest and didn't move from the doorway. I wanted to apologize. I don't know how it happened. I feel awful. We were best friends and I miss those times. I have a skateboarding competition tonight. I'd be happy if you came. Do you really think I want to talk to you again after everything that happened? Before Courtney could reply, I slammed the door in her face. I felt terrible. On the one hand, I couldn't forgive her, but on the other hand, I missed my friends. I hesitated for a long time, but didn't go to the competition in the end. The next day at school, everyone was discussing something. I saw a huge crowd by the classroom. Who were they listening to? Wait a minute, was that Andy? I came closer. Yesterday, Courtney fell at a skateboarding competition and injured her back. She's in a hospital now. I froze and stared blankly at the buzzing crowd. Courtney had fallen, but she was so good at skateboarding. After school, I decided to visit her. Her parents were standing by her ward and talking to the doctor. Courtney's mom was crying. I'm sorry, but there is a high chance your daughter will no longer be able to walk. I thought I misheard. Had he really said that? That couldn't be happening. My grudge immediately seemed unimportant. Rita? It's good that you came. You can come in. Courtney has already woken up. She was lying on the bed. Along with fruits and personal belongings, there was a photo of a gun lying on the table next to her. Courtney followed my gaze and smiled weakly. Rotten luck, huh? I won't be able to climb it and see the view at the dawn anymore. I sat down on the edge of her bed and took her hand. Tears streamed down my face. You'll get better, you'll see. I came to the hospital every day and often crossed paths with Andy. We didn't talk about the past and teamed up to support Courtney. We constantly brought her various gifts and prepared all sorts of surprises. One day, when she was at a meeting with a doctor, we decorated the whole ward with fresh flowers. Courtney was delighted. My parents paid for her treatment, but the doctor's predictions were only getting worse. One day, I accidentally saw Andy texting someone in the hospital. He was smiling mysteriously and sending love emojis. First, I didn't think much of it, but soon it happened again. Someone was constantly calling Andy and he looked happy after those conversations. It's all very suspicious. Could he have a new girlfriend? That jerk. He probably felt sorry for Courtney, so he didn't say anything to her. She had already been discharged from the hospital and sent home. Courtney still couldn't get up from her chair. I came to her place and we spent a lot of time in the yard. I had doubts about Andy. Courtney eventually noticed it. You've been kind of sad lately. Has something happened? What was I supposed to do? I couldn't upset her. She had enough on her plate, and I had no proof anyway. It's nothing. I'm just tired because of school. I couldn't keep ignoring Andy's behavior and started following him. I watched him at school, waited for him to come home, and even spied on him in the city. Still, he did not meet anyone except his friends. I was confused. Soon, I decided to talk to him. I went to Andy's house, and when I came up to the porch, I accidentally saw him through the window. He was sitting in front of his laptop and video chatting with Vera. She was blowing him kisses. I couldn't believe my eyes. First, Andy had betrayed me, and now Courtney? I rang the doorbell angrily, and when he opened the door, I pounced on him. I know everything about you and Vera. You are such a scumbag. I'm going to go to Courtney right now and tell her that you're cheating on her. I was about to leave, but Andy grabbed my arm. You got it all wrong, let me explain. I didn't want to listen to him, but he wouldn't let me go, so I had no choice but to stay. I want to fulfill Courtney's dream. Remember that day I bought a lottery ticket in Bali? I won quite some money. I contacted Vera and asked her to talk to the helicopter pilot there. They are now preparing everything to bring Courtney to Mount Agung. I won enough money to pay for the flight. That was just the way Vera communicates. You know what she's like. Of course. Why hadn't I thought of that? From that day on, I joined them. I asked Courtney's parents for permission to go through with our plan. Of course, we don't mind. Thank you for everything you and Andy are doing for our daughter. So we bought tickets, and a few days later we were back in Bali. Vera was there to meet us. Soon we all boarded a helicopter together. The view from the mountain was astonishing. Courtney was almost crying with happiness. We pitched a tent and prepared to spend the night there. Some other people were on the mountain as well. Could you take a photo of me on your phone? Mine is dead. He was quite handsome. Unfortunately, such guys never noticed me. The view at dawn was mind-blowing. It was 100 times more beautiful than in the photo. I remembered Vera's words and made a wish. Please let Courtney walk again. We spent a couple days in Bali and came back home only to hear some great news. My parents had found a good doctor for Courtney. He had agreed to perform complex surgery on her. The chances were small, but it was still worth a shot. While Courtney was being operated on, we waited in the corridor. I was losing my mind. Please let it work. Why was he so gloomy? Could it be? Well, congratulations! The surgery was successful. Courtney will make a full recovery. Hooray! I felt like everything would be alright. Courtney was discharged a couple of weeks later. She was learning to walk again. We grew closer than ever. She was dating Andy, but that didn't bother me anymore. One day I was coming back from school when I suddenly got a message from some boy. Wait, that was the guy I helped on the mountain. We started texting each other. It might be hard to believe, but we soon fell in love. I'm going to fly to Bali and meet him soon. I think I deserve a happy ending too. Or maybe Mount Agung really is a place of power. Do you think it healed Courtney, or was it the doctors? Although, it could be both, right?